Hi, this is Olga, and in this video, I want to guide you through how to use the Praxeon method in the form of a Notion template. This system is designed to help you stop wasting time on things that don't move you closer to your real goals, so you can focus and prioritize what truly matters for you. It also allows you to track your learning progress, monitor your skills development and goal execution, as well as keep all your resources and notes in one organized solution instead of a standalone app. This way, you get lifetime access and you are not limited by fixed app functionality. You can easily customize and extend the templates with your own ideas. It also allows me to continuously ship product updates without any extra cost for you. Just a quick note. All automations and features in this template work on Notion's free plan, but to unlock the full analytics feature, you may need to pay monthly plus plan. So if you get a template and you go to the analytics section, and you don't see the visual graphs as you could see in my template, it means that you may need to switch to the plus plan. But all the rest and all the automations I've added to this template works on free plan too. If you are new to Notion, ensure you don't remove any of the databases, as this is usually what leads to error messages. If you did so, you can always restore them from your trash box. Expect that the overall setup time may take between 20 and 30 minutes. For product feedback, success stories, or partnership inquiries, you'll find all the relevant links below this video. If you want to read in detail about the Praxeon framework, I will leave the article link below. Praxeon is my trademark and it's designed for personal use only. For commercial use, you should have a commercial license issued to you. Now, let me guide you and show you the benefits and value of this second brain system. If you haven't used Notion before, I recommend starting by filling in basic metrics, such as top tasks, top annual goals, the timers, active tasks. So pretty much all those metrics you have in your homepage, as well as the Knowledge Hub resources from where you could add any resource type you want. But if it's not the first time you use Notion, I'm sure this system template will become a brain game breakthrough because your life will change completely and you will most probably stop procrastinating and do self-sabotage. So the Praxeon framework as a solution has been developed specifically for the problems mentioned above. This system took me half a year to test and add or remove features. I left only those benefits that you will use most and those features that will be most beneficial for your life. The idea of the first version of Praxeon was simple. It's a 4-layer system that allows you to keep focusing on the long-term vision and know what really matters to you. Those layers are area of lives, macro goals, micro goals, and the actual tasks. If you've already used the macro mini version of Praxeon, you know how it looks like. But let me quickly show you this framework in practice and how it looks in this version of the template. The best block to showcase this is the active goals section. As you could see here in active goals block, the first layer is your area of life. In our case scenario, let's say this is career and business. If you click on the toggle bar, you will see the second layer, which is your macro goal. In our case scenario, the goal is grow agency. This is your macro goal, layer 2. The macro goal is usually a big goal. So this is your dream or a long-term project that you want to accomplish. Next, if you click on the toggle bar of your macro goal, you will see the little projects, which are your micro goals projects that you have to reach in order to achieve your big goal. In our case scenario, we have 8 micro goals, which are the specific steps to reach your big goal. This is the layer 3. Layer 4 is your actual tasks, which could be put both in macro and in micro goals. As an example, if I click on my big goal, I will see section tasks here, as well as you could also add the tasks to your micro goals, as you could see in this example. The progress of reaching your big goals, which is seen here, is based on all your tasks, both for your macro and for your micro goals. So the tasks is your layer 4. Okay, so to summarize what I have just explained to you, that has been the 4-layer framework, which is the basic of the Praxeon method that I have created and implemented as the template. But the main power of Praxeon comes with the integration with your Knowledge Hub, as well as the skills and analytics, so that you could connect all your areas of life, goals, tasks, and projects to different resource types, such as courses, notes, tools, or books, as I have been showing before here, as well as skills and analytical insights, such as a learning budget, reading goals, and time analysis of how much time you spend learning new skills or discovering new resources. We will talk about all of those components later, and I will show you exactly how to use those metrics. I will also show you how you could connect all those components together so that you can keep control not just of your goals or tasks progress, but also your learning resources and skills, which helps you to learn by intention. And intention is your actual long-term goal. Now, let's move to the main dashboard features overview. The main homepage is your personal dashboard, your live dashboard, where all the quick actions are, and it's your first page to go. The beauty of Notion is that you are not limited by only those blocks I've added for the template. You have full control over your whole space and can add any additional pages or blocks for your specific needs. In my case, if you take a look on the left here, you will see some extra pages. Those pages I've added for my personal workspace, which is a reminder for myself and something that is important for me at this specific period of my lifetime. So that's the beauty of having Notion instead of a fixed application. You could add any additional databases you want. Let me now show you how exactly the progress updates so that you could visually see how this progress is getting updated. Let's take a look into the progress, which is now 33.3%, based on the finished and in progress or not started tasks. So I do have the task send the Pinterest images under my project architecture. If I change the status to done, you will see that the progress has been updated. This progress is calculated on all the tasks you have added to your projects and to your big goals. Now, if I decide to add new tasks, the progress will also be updated. As an example, I click New, I add new task, and now you see that the progress shows 50%. Now, if you click on the big goal and you change the status to done, the progress updates again. If we don't add any new tasks, and we know that we have already finished all the tasks associated with the projects and with the big goal, congratulations, the progress bar will show 100%. All right, now let's go back to the predefined homepage blocks you get in the template. One of the most practical and often used buttons are quick actions on the left. Add goal, add task, add note, and add resource. This is useful both for a computer and mobile widget version in case you need to quickly access and add your goal, your task, or the resource. The homepage, as well as the Knowledge Hub right here, is your main space where you will mostly be spending your time for tracking your daily tasks, goals, starting the timer for a specific project, or tracking your learning time. With the ability to group to any custom view you want, whichever feels right to your specific use case. Navigation bar on the left is your quick access menu to any of the knowledge management system components, which we will discuss in detail soon. Also, if you go down, you will have all your areas of life. Of course, you could change them if you need to. Let's say if you click on personal development and then you click open in full page, you will have the separate personal development space where you could update the image right here, change cover. If you click one more property, you could change the picture as well as all the views. As an important note, in case if you have to change anything, just be careful with not deleting any metrics and any data. You could hide them, but I don't recommend to delete any of the metrics because some of the metrics may be a part of the formulas or automations I have added to this specific template. So if you remove any of the metrics you have in your goal, tasks, or resources, it may lead to error messages in your automations. If you don't want to see them, you could always hide those attributes. And I will show you how to do that, but this is just in case to keep you aware that be careful in case if you decide to remove anything. Of course, if you update the picture, if you update the area of life name or any views or any other filters, it will not affect the formulas. But in case, as an example, if you open any of the database, you will see all those metrics right here. And if you take a look into that, you may not need all those metrics you will see here. But if you remove them, it may lead to error messages in the other metrics, such as, let's say, the progress. So you could always just go ahead and click hide 14 properties. Okay, so I have just shown you how to quickly access any of your area of life as a separate workspace so that you could check all your goals, projects, tasks, as well as the resources associated with this specific area of life. And I have also shown you how you could customize the area of life in case if you have to. In addition to area of life, you will also have your completed and archived goals right here if you scroll down. So in case if you need to quickly visualize one of your life areas, this is exactly the place you would have to go. Okay, going back now to the homepage. The first block is your top daily tasks, which is designed as a visual reminder of the most important daily actions you have to take with the ability to turn the timer on, as you see here for each of those. So you can track how much time you spent on a specific task. To track how much time you spent on each of the daily tasks, you just click Start Timer and it updates automatically. In order for you to update and see the actual time, you may need to refresh the page. I usually just click on any of the navigation bar and then I just go back. And once you do so, you will see now that the timer has been updated to 1 minute. If I'm done with the task, I usually just hit done, check mark right here, and it automatically goes to my archived daily tasks. If you want to delete the archived tasks, of course, you could always do so by just clicking on 3 dots and hit delete. That's important to note that these tasks and timers are not directly integrated into your goals and don't auto-calculate your goals progress, nor do they go to analytics. They serve as a quick, urgent tasks to focus on specifically today, which keeps you away from distractions. As an example, I may have the urgent tasks to go to my vet with my cat, but of course I didn't plan it anywhere and I didn't have it in any of my projects. Or I also had unplanned partner meeting that I have just discovered is important for me to reach my specific goals. So in order to not look for this specific task for a long time, I just usually click new page and add a new task if it has to be done urgently. All those metrics for this daily task are usually related to the timer, which is automatically calculated in real time. So you don't really have to do anything here. All you have to do, just add the task, start a timer if you want to track and see how much time you spend on this specific task, and then just click done. That's pretty much all you have to do. I myself use this section daily together with my daily diary, where I write down the logic of important actions and set the priority tasks as a visual reminder. Sometimes it does happen that you did not include the important tasks into your goal and you just have it in your mind. And this task has just came up to you today, as I have just explained to you. So this is the exact place where I usually go straight away to log the task I have to accomplish for today. I usually don't do anything else for my daily task, but of course, if you need to define the specific start time to end time, you could always do so. You could also add any comments and notes to this specific task. Alright, the next block is the start timer block. This section is created to help you stay focused on specific activities that are not your daily tasks, but rather projects such as studying a specific course or working on a specific project. This section allows you to log your learning or working time. Click on Start Timer to add a new timer. Now let's close this window, and you see that the status automatically activates, which means that it's been active in real time and the hours count. Let's take a look at the timer metrics. If you click on real time, it will show you the formula, so ensure that you don't do anything with the formulas as mentioned before. Instead, you'll have to go to Edit and then open inside Peak Bar. For each timer, you can connect the skill from the skills database. If you need to add a new skill, just type any skill you need to and click on plus at the very bottom, new skill in database skills. Click on that. And now you will see that you have added a new skill. Of course, you will have all your skills you have previously added to your skills section, and I will show you how to do so in a couple of minutes. But the idea is that you could connect your skills to log your timer so that later on you'll be able to see the analytics that show you how much time you have spent for the specific skill. I usually add new timer every time I need to study a skill, because sometimes I forget to press finish. And if you don't forget to press finish, of course, it will just go. As you see in this example, it shows me that I have studied for 213 hours, but this is not true, just because of I forgot to change the status to finished on time. So if it's really important for you to then check in your analytics as an example of how much time you spend for specific resources or for specific skills, then ensure that you always track your timer status and you change the status to active versus finished. And going back to metrics, in our case, let's say I've added product management. This is the Reforge study session. I usually also add the resource because I want to see how much time I spend for specific resources. So I click Reforge platform. I usually also choose the type of the resource because then I check the analytics of how much time I spent for different resources types. And that's pretty much all I do. If it's a book, I also could say how many pages I have read. As an example, let's see what we have. Add a new timer, reading session. Let's say I've been reading such a resource, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. I'll go with a type resource type book, and I will do a skill product management. Now, every time I log my reading session, I go and change the status to active. And I also could go and say how many pages I have read. As an example, I do 100. Now you could just go ahead and log any course or your work project or whichever other project you need to log the time for and just start working on that. In order to pause this session, you will have to change the status to finished. And then you could always go back and change the status to active again. If you still don't see that the timer updates, it just means you need to update the page as I have been showing you. So go back to the Knowledge Hub and come back to the timer box again. In my case, I usually log study sessions, reading sessions, and work sessions. Then what you could do is you could go to Analytics and let me show you how it appears in the Analytics section. As a reminder, in order for you to see all the analytics metrics, you may need to have the Notion Plus. Here we have the metric called resource time spent, which shows you how much time you have spent for specific resource type. If you click on that, you will see that there was some time logged, but no resource type has been selected. That's why it doesn't show you what exactly was the resource type. As you could see, I have shown you how I was logging the book session where I chose the resource type book ebook, and now it shows me that I have spent 2 minutes for this specific resource type. So if it's important for you to track how much time you spent for specific resource, then make sure you don't delete the timer and you always choose the resource type there. So if such metrics like the resource type is important for you, let's say you want to know how much time you spent for courses, how much time you spent for books, how much time you spent for tools, then obviously add the resource type during your log timer, as well as ensure you do not remove this timer and you always start and finish the timer if you stop working on that specific project. The same happens to the skills time spent. If you add a skill to your log session, as I have shown you with the product management as a skill, and if you don't remove your timer and you always start and finish the timer at that time when you are actually working on the project, the analytics will show you the exact time you spent for the specific resource or specific skill. One of my favorite analytics metrics is the skills budget spent right here. We will discuss in detail where exactly you have to set the budget for the skill, but this is one of the most valuable analytics insights I usually go to because I really love to see how much time as well as how much money I invest into specific skill development. If you need to see in detail, you just click on the insight right here and it shows you the exact timer that has been associated with the skill. The budget section is the breakdown of the resources type so that it shows you how much you have spent for specific resource type. In our case scenario, it shows you that I have spent $345 for tools and I have also spent 1.6K for my courses. And as already mentioned before, if you want to see in detail any specific insight, you just actually click on that and it will show you all the associated timers and the budget for this specific analytics insight. The last analytics insight is the books finished, which is based on the book status, which I will show you when we will discuss the Knowledge Hub section. But one of the reasons I want to show you the analytics now, before we even go to the Knowledgement Hub, because I really want you to understand how analytics is calculated based on logging your time block. Since we are now discussing the timers and the timers analytics, I want to show you the section timers. You could always go to the timers section from your navigation bar, which is exactly the place where you'll see all your timers with all the possible breakdowns and the metrics. So if you want to see your timers in detail, this is exactly the place to go. If it's important for you to control and see how much you spend for specific skills development as well as the resources types, I truly enjoyed these analytics metrics because this way I could see my exact knowledge investments, both for the tools such as my subscriptions, books, and all the other resources like courses, film subscriptions, and others, as well as specific skills spent. Usually, quite often we invest into different courses, different books, but we really don't know which exactly skill we want to develop and why we want and need this specific skill for what. And this is exactly the insight I usually go to make sure if I'm on the right track, if I'm developing and investing my time and my budget for the right skill set development. I will show you in a couple of minutes where exactly you could set your budget for both your skills and different resources types. Now let's go to the main section. The next one is my top global goals. This is one of the most important blocks to keep yourself focused and remind yourself on what truly matters in the long-term perspective. I personally check this block every single day to ensure I'm prioritizing daily tasks that bring me closer to my long-term goals. Ideally, there should not be more than 3 annual goals, but of course, it all depends on your lifestyle, as some goals may need a different amount of time to be accomplished. Not everyone could build a house in just 1 year, right? That's why you still keep this goal as a global one, but let's say it's going to be planned for 2026 quarter 4, which you could also choose here. So you could choose not just a year, but you could also choose a quarter. It's important to notate that this block will automatically populate all the macro goals that have the priority chosen as Global 1, Global 2, and Global 3. As you see, we do have all those different priorities. We have 4 priorities for global goals, which are related to the big goals or macro goals, right? And we do have 4 micro priorities, which should be associated with your sub-goals or the projects, as we call them. So, as an example, if I choose that build a house is a priority global number 4, it will automatically disappear from my top global goals. So, this block is designed for all your global long-term goals that have the priority status global 1, 2, or 3. I usually add those global goals directly from here by just clicking on New. And then I already set up the area of life. I don't usually choose the sub goals here, and I don't recommend doing that unless it's better for your visual preferences. And why not? Because we have a separate space for it that I have shown at the very beginning when I was explaining the Praxeon 4-layer framework. The block is right here under active goals, which is much more better way to visualize all your goals. In addition, if you add the sub goals here, some of the goals in this active goals view may disappear. And you may not like it. That's why I don't recommend to touch that. And I don't recommend to remove this, because if you remove the sub goal section, it will also may not show up as a visual view in your active goals section. If you add a new global goal directly from this top global section, as I have just done, you will see that the priority will be automatically put as global 1. But if you need to change it, just click on the priority and change to the one that is most appropriate for you. The next one is quarter and year. You could edit all those quarters and years, and it depends on you if you want to have it or not. If you don't want to see this property, you could just click on this property, go to property visibility, and hide when empty. So if it's empty, it will not even show up. And by the way, you could do it for all your properties. So if you just don't use it and you don't fill it out, instead of removing those properties, just go ahead and hide those. In my case scenario, I sometimes put quarterly deadlines if I then have to filter my global goals by quarter. If you go down, you will see that you will have the filter called by quarters. This is exactly those goals where you added the quarter. Let's choose quarter 4, 2026. You could connect this goal to a specific skill set, so it could be easier to see which skill set is associated with this goal. Let's say once you reach this goal, you get that skill. So let's choose product management as a skill for this specific goal. Or it could also mean that you need to use your existing skill to reach this goal. So again, it truly depends on you, and you customize it in the way you need, adding those metrics that truly matter to you and those metrics that keep you focused. The duration type is either short term or long term. The progress will be automatically calculated, so you don't have to do anything here in the formula. At the very beginning, I have explained how exactly this progress is calculated. I usually set the deadline because then it will show me how much time is left in order to reach this goal. The next one is a start date. I usually choose a start date if I've started reaching that specific goal before I started using this system. As an example, if I had a goal, build a house in 2024, but I had not been using this system yet, that's exactly where I usually set the start date. It pretty much means if you are already having the goals you want to put into this Notion system, and you have already planned those goals before, then this is exactly where you put your goal start date. The same applies to the end date. If you have already completed your big goal, but you still were not using this specific system, then you could log this goal just for the purpose of statistics and structuring all your goals between area of lives and further adding any specific skills or resources. But if the goal is planned after you have purchased this system, then usually you don't have to enter your start and end dates. Just keep in mind that the end date is not the same as the deadline. If it's a new goal, the start date, of course, could also be a future date. Let's say you just want to log a specific goal and you say, all right, I'm going to start reaching this goal in 6 months. Then you enter the exact start date. But usually, if it's a goal you have already started today, you just click on the start button here and it will automatically be updated. The same applies to the complete button. Once I hit complete, it will automatically show me the end date. So you don't have to fill out the start date and the end date manually, and instead you just hit start and completed buttons. Time spent till now is also automatically updated. You don't have to do anything here. Also for you to remember that if you don't put the start date time, the time spent till now will not appear, because this metric will be counted when it has the exact date when the goal has been started. So that's the reason why I recommend to always add the start date or by clicking the button start. The metrics that are always visible are the goal name, the area of life for this goal, of course if you have it chosen, right? The progress bar will always be here, as well as the status. You could also check the done macro goals sections right here, which will show you the goals that have been accomplished. You could also remove those goals from this section if you have to. For ease of use, I could just click hide 14 properties, which is actually what I usually do, because all the other properties I don't use, but those properties are used with specific formulas and automations, as I have already mentioned. So I don't remove those. Of course, you could see the calculations, and those metrics say exactly what it counts. So goal tasks, numbers, tasks, sub-goals, so how many sub-goals we have, done tasks in the main, done tasks in the subcategories, so that based on your tasks, it will calculate the exact amount of all your tasks, projects, and sub-goals associated. But those properties are actually designed mostly to calculate your progress, and they are a part of the automations. That's why in a practical use case, you just click hide 14 properties, and that's pretty much all you have to do. If you need to archive this goal, you just click archive. Add resource already applies to the Knowledge Hub integration, but you should know that you could always add the resource directly from your goal. So you don't have to go separately to the resources. You could add the resources directly to the goal section. As an example, I click add resource, and you just go ahead and add the resource that you want to add to this specific goal. I will talk about all the resource metrics in a couple of minutes, but the idea is that this is a two-way integration, which means you could add resources directly from your goal, as well as you could add the goals directly from the resources. Here you see the exact example of the added resources. which means that those two resources are associated with this specific goal. So you could just go to this resource, or you could remove that resource and unlink the page if you have to. Okay, you could also add some quick to-do lists. If you don't have time to add a specific task, you could just add some notes such as to-do lists. You could also add the notes. I usually just add the notes directly into the goal page, but you could also hit a new and add it as a separate note database. Okay, and once you click the status done, it will automatically go to done macro goals. If you have already done this goal, but you still want to keep it as active, I usually click done, don't archive option. You could change your statuses. Just remember that you could always go to edit property and you could change the name of your statuses right here in case if you have any custom statuses for your goals. The same applies for the tasks. Now let's take a look at the next section, Active Goals and Tasks View. This allows you to see all your goals, both macro and micro, with the status and priorities, as well as all the important metrics which could all be customized. In order to customize the view, you just go to Settings right here. Then you choose Property Visibility. And you choose what exactly you want to see in the menu by just dragging drop the property. In our case scenario, you could see all the sub-goals and all the tasks of the sub-goals, as well as the macro goals. So this active goals section is pretty much the basics of the Praxeon method that I have described in detail, which consists of all these 4 layers. All these 4 layers are visible in one single place. Let's go back and take a look at the big goal, transform from sales to PM. Let me update the status to in progress. You do see the priority, the goal duration, and since right now I don't have the tasks associated, but you could always add the task from the tasks database, or you could add the tasks directly from this page view. So if you don't want to go to each goal separately and add the tasks there, you could just simply add any task you want to be associated with a specific sub-goal. So let me go ahead and add task or create a CV, hit new. So I have added the task create a CV, and now if you go back to your big goal, you will see this task right here. The same happens to the sub-goals. This is exactly the place where I add the sub-goals. As mentioned already before, I don't add the sub-goals from here, and I don't recommend doing so. So if you need to update and you need to plan your big goal and to plan the exact steps which are your sub-goals as well as tasks, this is exactly the place you would have to go. That's important to note that you are not actually limited by the amount of sub-goals, which means that once you have added the project, in our case, do SQL course, you could add more subgroups as you see here. Just click the toggle bar and you'll be able to add a new hierarchy goal for the SQL course. This does not belong to Praxeon itself as the framework, but for the ease of use, you could always subgroup your actual projects into smaller steps. As an example, you add a project for your big goal, transform from sales to PM, and you want to say that you have to build the use cases. This is your sub-goal, but now you have even smaller actual steps you need to put for this specific project. That's when you click on the toggle bar and you add a new sub-item. Let's say you want to build a lovable app as one of the steps of your sub-goal. For me, this is very useful in case if, let's say, I have a lot of different project parts that are still associated with my sub goal, but I need to break down this sub goal into smaller pieces, which are smaller projects. And that's when I usually use this part of this template. You also could associate your resources from here, which means that if you have 10 different projects for one sub goal, you could add resources to that specific little project, which becomes really easier for you to find all the related resources, courses, books, and other notes that you need to have a quick access to. Usually I do a lot of notes directly in the actual project page. And the great part of this is that if you add a task even to those little sub projects, as I have just done in this example right here, it will also be counted to your big goal progress. So the progress is calculated not just on the big goals and sub goals, but also on those sub goals projects tasks. You could see your active goals by area, by priority, by deadline, and by quarter. And if you take a look into the deadline view, it will show you the actual calendar view. But as I have already mentioned before, this area of what you want to see in your group filter, you could always customize it. Me personally, I usually check the active goals by area, as you could see right here. Not to mention that if you take a look into the deadline view, you could always add a new item, which is your new goal, directly from the calendar view. As a reminder, if you are completely new to Notion, then Notion may ask you to integrate the calendar to your space. So as you could see here, I do have the option to manage my goals in my Notion calendar. But if you have not integrated the Notion calendar yet, it will not appear. So if you have issues where you don't see the calendars, you just go ahead and add the Notion calendar to your Notion account. If you need to add a specific filtering view, you just click Add a New View right here. The last view, which is actually above, are the tasks view. You could customize it and you could drag and drop and put your tasks view below. It depends on you. I usually view the tasks by areas, but you could also filter them and group whichever way you need. As you see, we have the tasks group by areas right now. You could also view your tasks by goals, by global goals, by status, by upcoming tasks, weekly view, and you also have the tasks by resources. The same as with your goals, you could also customize your views, but if you are completely new to Notion, I would still recommend starting with the predefined system I gave to you. It has been tested by multiple users, and the value of the metrics has been proven. Then, once you get used to Notion, you would just go ahead and customize and test it out to create a version that fits best for your lifestyle. My honest recommendation is that in case if you want to play around with a Notion template, I definitely recommend making a duplicate. To make a duplicate, you will have to go to your menu. For each template, you will see the three dots. Delete, duplicate, and more. You click on that and you will see the option duplicate. I also recommend to make your template available offline. This is recommended because in case if you remove automation or change some metrics, it may not work for some of the initial automations and formulas, and you will put a lot of effort into troubleshooting. So I don't recommend to do so in case if you haven't worked a lot with a Notion yet. I give you the starting point and the Praxeon framework that worked for a lot of users, which is a ready-to-use practical system, which means you don't have to spend hundreds of hours on just figuring out what, where, and how to build one. But you are more than welcome to be creative and use it in any way you need for your personal lifestyle and use. Alright, so going back to our homepage, that's been pretty much all the main blocks we have on our homepage and the blocks that are mostly used. Don't forget that you could always have a full view of your active tasks and goals from your navigation bar by going to their separate workspaces. For the goals, you will go to Goals Breakdown, and you will see all your goals breakdown, including the completed goals breakdown. And for the tasks breakdown view, you just click on the tasks manager view. Since most probably you will be often adding your tasks, I minimalized the steps you have to take to add a task. So let's say if you add a task directly from the goal, which is usually what happens, if you take a look here, area of life as well as the goal will automatically pop up for you. So you don't have to do any extra steps to choose which area of life your task belongs to or which goal your task belongs to. The automation has been set up in a way which minimizes the amount of steps taken when you have to add a new task. That's another reason why I usually recommend to add the task directly from this goals view. The same happens to your sub-goals. Let's say if you have already added the goal which belongs to career business. In our case, let's say the macro goal is career transition from PM. Then if you go ahead and add a new sub-goal, which is, let's say, going to be lovable project. And now if you open this goal, you will see that area of life as well as a sub-goal has been already popped up. Remember that for the priority, if it's a big goal, you choose the global priority 1, 2, 3, or 4. But if it's a sub goal or a sub project and you have to put the priority for this goal too, then ensure that you choose the micro priorities. You could edit the statuses, the filters, the views, names. Just ensure that you don't delete any properties because it may affect a lot of automations and formulas that are included in this workspace. Now let's move to the second part, which is the Knowledge Hub. The Knowledge Hub is designed for intentional learning so that you could not only track the progress of your learning and skills development, but also stop losing your notes from different resource types in one place. The Knowledge Hub integration with your goals, projects, and tasks allow you to visualize why you need to develop specific skills for which exactly goal it's designed to be, or start a new learning material for the specific goal. So when you lose your motivation, you can quickly get back on board by reminding yourself why you need it. What I have discovered is that very often if you cannot connect to the resources and the topics that you study, learn, read about, or listen about, you don't really know why you study specific material. And that's when quite often self-sabotage happens and you forget to focus on learning and the resources that bring you closer to your actual goals. Knowledge Hub integration is a huge part of the Praxeon framework, as already mentioned before. To properly structure the study materials, I've categorized the resources into the following main formats, such as courses, books, tools, communities, videos, podcasts, articles, templates, films, bookmarks, and the notes. From here, you could quickly add any resource type. Each resource format has its unique values to fill out. Let's take a look at each of those. Let's say I want to add a new resource type, a course. So I click Add a Course. I'm going to call this course Reforge Platform. The type has been added already automatically, so the next one is the area of life. I'm going to choose career and business. It's not obligatory to choose which area of life you add this specific resource to, but sometimes I do so if it's related specifically to my goals. So I add the resource with the type course called Reforge Platform for the skill that I want to develop, which is a product management skill. I choose the skill product management. Then I choose a topic. The topic has been already predefined for you, but you will be able to customize the topics, of course, and I will show you where to do that in a couple of minutes. So in my case scenario, I'm going to choose the topic product. If you need to add a topic directly while you actually add the resource, you just type a new topic and you click new at the very bottom of that. In our case, let's leave the topic product. I usually add the skills, of course, because I want to see how much budget goes to the specific skills development. And this is exactly the place where you will be adding your budget, and I will show you how to do so. So the skill is important metric to choose in case you add a new resource type. It also helps me to understand which exactly value this specific resource brings to my area of life, as well as my skills development, so that I could focus on what really matters to me. Next metric is the goals section. This is exactly the two-way relation I have been talking about, which means you could add the resource both from your goal section when you add a new goal and when you add a new resource, as we are doing right now. You could either choose the existing goal from the drop-down list, or you could add a new goal directly from the resources. So in my case, I'm going to add this resource to transform from sales to PM. The next metric is the link. This is where you add a specific link to access this resource type. The file, you could add a file by link or upload a file. You could enter the exact budget, which will be included in the budget analytics. Which means that, okay, for product management, you have already spent $800. You could also choose the start and end date in case if you need to track, let's say, the specific course resources and how fast you learn those, but I usually don't do that. Budget type, you choose if it's paid or free or premium. Resources allows you to connect other resources you already added to this current resource. Plan and done quantity, this is also the manual entry, and it's recommended to be added in case if you need to have any custom quantity. Let's say you may want to add the amount of the videos in the lessons, or amount of books, or amount of films you have to watch, but I usually don't do that. Checkmark is just for your visual view. As you see here, those metrics are general, which means it applies to any resource format. But now let's take a look at how exactly I have structured the different sections, which are the subscriptions, book section, bookmark, course, template, film, article, and testimonial. Those custom metrics make it even more clear and structured for you, and they are connected to the specific resource type and the budget. As an example, let's say I know that this is a course type. You go down and see the section specifically designed for the course, such as learning status, lessons, topics, and the platform. You know that those metrics cannot be applied to the books or to the film or to the podcast, right? You have specifically 3 more metrics designed for the course resource type. Usually what I do here, I update the status. So let's say I'm going to choose a status in progress. Even though you already have the status right here and the progress is automatically calculated based on the metrics you manually enter here, I still want to see specifically the status for my courses. And this is exactly the place you would have to go. You could also add the lessons topics. You could do it either numerical, or you could do it in any other text format. And you could choose a platform. So it could be Reforge, it could be Coursera, or any other platform that you have chosen for this specific resource. By the way, going back to the progress is calculated only if you manually enter the planned quantity and the done quantity. This progress is not based on the tasks, and instead it's going to show you the progress based on the planned quantity and done quantity. As an example, I could say that the video quantity is 40 and I have only done 27 videos. Then the progress will be calculated based on what you enter here. The second most used section here is the book section. I usually enter the book genre, which is, let's say, nonfiction, total pages, which you also have to enter manually. Let's say we do 542, and pages read you also have to do manually. You could update the reading status, and this status is exactly the status that goes to your analytics. So if you want to see your reading status analytics, this is exactly where you update your reading status. Based on the total pages and pages read, it will also show you the book progress, as well as a general time. If you remember at the very beginning, I was showing you how to log your time and associate your time with a specific resource. So this is exactly the place where the general time should appear in case if you log this specific resource, let's say Reforge platform, with a logging time. I also usually add the rate for the specific book. What you have to remember from the book section, the book metrics go to analytics. It does show how many pages you have read. So if you did not enter the total pages and the pages read here, it will not show. The analytics will also show the reading status. So if you want to see the reading status in your analytics, this is exactly the place where you have to go. If you don't want to show the total pages in your analytics, it's okay not to include this. General time also goes to your analytics section. It shows you how much time you spend for this specific resource. So if you want to track the reading sessions, the general time will show up automatically. As you see, it's a formula here. The general time section also goes to the reading session analytics. The place where you actually start a timer for your reading session is always on your homepage or in the timer section. This place is not the place where you have to start a timer. It will be automatically calculated if you have connected this resource to the specific timer log session on your homepage. It will automatically appear here. The next really important section, which I always use, is called subscription. This metric is important to fill out if you want to automatically calculate how much budget is spent for the specific resource type. I usually use this metric for the resource type called tools. Let me actually show you so that you could understand what I usually do in practice here. I click Add a tool as the resource format. Let's say it's cloth. At this time, I'm going to skip all the general metrics and we'll go directly to the subscription. I choose that, of course, it's a subscription type. Then I need to enter the summary of one payment, which is, let's say, $25. Then you have to choose a recurring unit. Choose months, start pay date. I go back and I choose that my start pay date was in July. And very important, if you want this subscription to be automatically calculated for you and go to your analytics and show how much you have spent, you have to ensure that you change the subscription status to active. Now, as you could see, the auto subscription summary has been popped up. So now you know that you have spent $125 for this subscription. General subscription summary is the manual entry. So in case, let's say, if you know the fixed budget you have spent for this specific tool or the course, this is the place where you go. What you have to remember from the subscription section. The subscription section is really important to note because this is the value of the analytics. So let's say if you have a plus plan and you really need to know how much you spend for the specific skill development, as well as for your resources such as courses, this is exactly the place you have to fill out. So let's say I also wanted to be included into my skill development. So let's say I say that my skill has been, let's say, data science as a skill. So I choose, let me actually go back to my tools now. It's gonna be here. As you see now, it shows my skill. I also choose the topic, as I already mentioned before. And now let's take a look into the analytics from our homepage view. If we go to analytics, and we go to the skills budget spent, the data science skill with the amount $125 will appear in your analytics. So you know that for the data science skill development, you have spent $125. If you have chosen the recurring unit, let's say monthly subscription, quarterly subscription, or annual subscription, the amount should be added automatically. That's why I emphasize that this subscription block is really practical in use. Now, if you go to the resources budget, you will also see that the tool platform budget has been $470. It means that we have other tools added to the subscription. In order to see the detailed view, what are those $470, you just click on this and you will see all your tools and platforms based on which summary is calculated on. Now let's go back to the Knowledge Hub. Let's go to courses. Let's choose the Reforge platform we have been just working on. And let's take a look at what else you have here. Except of the books, courses, and subscriptions, you also have bookmark, template, film, article, and testimonial. You also have specific metrics for bookmark, for template, for film, which has the same logic. You choose, let's say, the film genre, you choose film status. And now if you go back to the resources and go to your Knowledge Hub and you click on the films, you will see that you have the films filtered by genre. As an example, let's say if you want to add a new film, and if you go down and you choose the film genre, let's say it's going to be crime, and let's say you have already completed to watch this film, which is like actually a serial, but I'm sure you get the logic. Now, if you go to the films, you will see that Mentalist has been added to the film genre crime, and you could also see the films by date, by to watch list, and as well as all the films section. Okay, the next block is the resource types categories. Let's say if you want to see your courses, you just click on courses right here, and it will redirect you to the courses workspace. It will show you all the possible views for your courses, such as all courses by learning status, by goal, by topic, by priority, by date. And you could also go ahead and add a new view if you have to. Now, if you take a look at the calendar view, it means that you can add the resource type. In our case, this is a course based on the deadline. Let's say you have to finish this one. As an example, you have purchased a course and you know that you need to finish at least one lesson in 1 week. What you do, you click plus, add an item. It automatically adds this resource type to the course category because we are adding this resource directly from the courses workspace. Let's say you need to finish a course, lesson 3, Reforge. Reforge, it's a platform for product managers. And then if you have to fill out the skills, let's say product management, you could add area of life, topic. As I mentioned before, I do recommend to add topics every time, which makes it easier to find the needed resource. So we have a product, as well as you could connect your resource to your goal. So let's say if you search for the goal, you will see that there is such a goal, like career transition from sales to PM. So we choose that goal. And now the resource has been automatically connected to the global goal. You could also add the link. I usually do that in case if I need to quickly access the link from this resource. Now let's go back to courses. And now if you take a look in your calendar, you will see that you need to finish lesson 3 from Reforge platform in January the 21st. You could change the status directly from here. And as you see, the end date has been also added automatically. So adding resources directly from the calendar view is recommended to do in case if you have a specific strict deadline and you need to have a visual view of what exactly has to be done and when. Going back to the resources categories, you could go to each of these resource categories separate workspace and to see specific details that are associated with that specific resource format. So let's say if you know that you have the notes from specific books, you go to the book section. If you know that you need to find something in the course section, that's exactly where you go. And as already mentioned before, you could always click the search button and you'll be able to find a specific resource by just typing into the search bar what exactly has to be found. If you want to check what's happening in your film section and you want to see which film you want to watch, you go to the film section where you have already different metrics that are related specifically to your films, as well as the views. So you have the to watch list, you have by genre and by date, so that you could just go ahead and do exactly the same what has been done with the courses section. The same applies to all the other categories. Each category has its own views and metrics because each resource type is different. That's the reason why it's been categorized for the ease of use. Okay, now let's go back to the Knowledge Hub database. The last really useful visual view in the Knowledge Hub is a main database right here. You just need to scroll down and you will see the toggle called main database. If you click on the toggle bar, you will see all your resources and materials filtered by resources types. If you click to more right here, you will see all the resources type so that you could just go ahead and toggle those resources you want to see as your primary resources types. Let's say maybe you want to see articles and blog posts as your first one. That's exactly where you go. And as an example, if you have a lot of different articles, blog posts, or notes, and you need to quickly find what you need, this is exactly where you go. You just click at search button and you start looking for the specific resource type. It will automatically find the needed information quickly. Let's summarize what I have just said. Knowledge Hub allows you to filter all your resources by different types, which makes it easier to add different types of resources, as well as it allows you to filter your resources by topics. Knowledge Hub is that exact workspace where you need to go if you need to quickly add a specific resource. All of those resources are filtered by different formats. It makes it much more easier to add all the different types of resources quickly, as well as it also allows you to see the full view of all the resources just in one place so that you could just go ahead and quickly find the needed information. Also, since the Knowledge Hub is your main database of all your notes, different resources, you could also use the Notion AI directly from here. You'd see this little icon on the right button where it says, "Hi, it's Notion AI," and you could ask Notion AI and manipulate with your resources and your notes in the way you need to. If you want to get a separate video or a guide on how to better use Notion AI, just let me know and I'll do it for you. Now, let me also show you a very useful view, which is called the resources by topic. This is a workspace where you can access the resources by their topics and areas. You have to remember that you'll be able to find your resource by topic, of course, if you have chosen the topic when you were adding that specific resource. That's one of the reasons why I always say that every time if I add a resource, I ensure that the topic is added too. Because now I can just go to the resources by topic workspace, let's say business, and it will give me all the information that is related to the topic called business, filtered by resources types. As you can see, I have books, courses, podcasts, and if you click for more, you will see all the resources types in your drop down. And as I mentioned, if you need to have a different view, you could just go ahead and click, let's say, tools and extensions. You want to have it as your second view. Now you see that you have tools and extension, and now it's visible too. So resources by topic allows you to see all the resources types you have added by specific topic. Of course, you could customize the names of those topics. Those are just predefined, so you have the idea how exactly it has to look like, as well as you could add a new page and add a new topic. Let's say prompt engineering, or whichever topic you have to add here. If you go back, now it's going to appear here. For a lot of you, you may want to have your topics with the gallery view. If you need to add a custom image, you just click on the three dots right here. Then you go to the section layout and you see that the layout is currently chosen as a gallery, but if you take a look into the card preview, you see none. If you choose the page cover, it will visualize your topic. In order to change the image for the specific topic, you just click on this workspace. You will see the image on the top, then you click change cover. And you just choose any image you want from either gallery, upload, link, or even you could unsplash the picture directly from here. So resources by topic section becomes really useful if you need to find the resources filtered by its formats for a specific topic. And don't forget that you could also manipulate with the Notion AI directly for this specific topic, as well as you could use all the different automated workflows that are filtered not by just the resources types, but also the actual topic. Right now, in this specific demo version, I don't have any details added directly here. But if you actually add the text so that the Notion AI could read this text, you just go ahead and you ask to summarize any insights from this specific knowledge database, which allows you to find the needed information and to summarize this information even faster. This is also one of the reasons why I have filtered all your resources, not by just their categories, but as well as by the topics. If we go back now to the resources by topics and to our main homepage, you'll see that I have also added a separate workspace called resources by area. Those resources are added here by area of your life. So let's say if you click on career business area of your life, you will see a toggle bar called resources. And this is exactly the place where you'll see all the resources that are related to your area of life. The only thing you have to remember is that if you add the resource type from any other place, so not from the career and business, but from the Knowledge Hub, you need to ensure that the area of life is chosen. If you add your resource directly from area of life workspace, as an example, I'm going to add a course. It's going to automatically add this course to this specific area. But if you are adding the course from your Knowledge Hub, if we go back to our Knowledge Hub and we want to add a new course, it will only add the resource format. It will not automatically show the area of life. So if you want this specific resource to show in any area of your life, just ensure that you choose the area from the drop-down list. The same logic applies to the skills, to the topics, and to the goals section. If you want to find, let's say, this specific resource by topic, you need to ensure that you have chosen the specific topic for this resource. If we go back to the resources by area, let's say go to career and business, we also have this valuable function, a search button. Let's say if you have a lot of different courses added and you need to quickly find a resource by its keyword, I just type, let's say, Reforge, and it automatically shows me all the resources that have the keyword Reforge. Okay, the next section is the skills section. The same logic applies here. You could add as many skills as you need to. You could customize the existing skills. And if you click on the specific skill section, and let's click open in full page, you will see all the resources types that are associated with this specific skill. You could also add the goal directly from the skill section as well as the task. You are not limited to add your own property if you have to, but if you are new to Notion, I don't recommend to do that and just start with some easy steps. The section for quick insights. This is a workspace that allows you to add any quick insight, any note you want by just clicking new or add note directly from here and just add any note you want. As well as you could add insights task and connect this specific insight to the resource. So let's say I have the insights from the Reforge resource. Let's say it's going to be pricing strategy. And I could just go ahead and now connect this to the existing resource called Lesson 3 Reforge, as well as you could add the status. Let's say done. You could also choose the topic and created time and last edited time, it's automatically added. And as well as you could connect your goals and the place. The next section is Wheel of Life. This section is pretty much straightforward. So it shows all your area of life. And you could also add a new area of life directly from here. But if you need to change the area of life, I would just recommend to edit the existing one and just type a different name for that area of life. So what does this workspace do? So what you could see here, you could see the actual progress of your goals for this specific area of life, as well as it shows you the chart, which as a reminder may not be available if you don't have the Notion Plus, because this is the analytics section. This breakdown is the average rating of all your area of lives. In this specific case scenario, this rating is manual and you have to set your area of life rating from 1 till 10. Let me show you the example. Let's say if you go to your career and business now, you will see the rating right here. What you have to do, you have to manually set your rating. So let's say now we have 8, and you remember that we had the 57 in our breakdown. Now let's say if I put 2 and you go back to the Wheel of Life, you will see that the number has become 51, total rating. In this specific use case, you have 10 different area of lives. Let's say if you rate your area of life as 10, it's supposed to be 100%, which means that you are successful in all areas of your life. If you want to check only specific areas of your life that matter most to you, you just delete the other ones from the view, and you could see the breakdown only for those specific area of lives that you have chosen. And the last section is the habit tracker section. If tracking the habits really matters to you, then this section may be really helpful because it's easy to use. Daily habits is automatically updated based on the date in your calendar. So all you have to do, you just need to add specific habits. You just click edit, open in a center peak, and instead of, let's say, habit 4, you click rename and you add your own habit. So here you only add the specific habits you need to track. And if you don't want to see all the other ones, you just click delete property. Here to see the visual habits monthly chart, as you see the example right here, all you have to do, you just need to do the daily check-in. In order to do so, you just click on the actual habit you see here. That's pretty much all you need to do. You don't need to go to the specific date and you don't have to look for the specific field to add a new habit. All you do, you just click on the actual habit and it automatically goes to the analytics, as you already could see here, based on which habits you checked daily. In addition, you could even check your monthly habits calendar view, which will show all the progress based on those check marks that you've clicked either directly in your calendar or in your daily view. If you update your habits directly from your calendar, of course, it will also appear in the visual chart section. Okay, I hope all these detailed instructions are helpful for you. I know you may need some time to quickly adapt to all the metrics, but if you have watched my video until the end, I'm sure you'll do really great in both your goals tracking and knowledge management. I will be also posting some short educational videos on my social media, so you may find some great insights from those videos too. And as I already mentioned, once you have this template and if you have chosen the option to include the future releases, you get the product updates from me without any additional costs. Which means that I will be refining the product, adding some features based on your feedback, by the way, and updating those features for you. That has been one of the reasons why the text instructions for this template are added on the hosting website and are updating in the real time. So you could access those instructions as well as the product updates directly from that page. The page will require to enter the password that is provided in your product guide you have downloaded during the purchase. If you have any success stories or if you have any questions or difficulties while setting up the template, don't hesitate to reach out to me either via social media or email, and I'll be more than happy to assist you in such a great journey. Thank you so much for watching.